Hello, my friends. AmyR here with Prairie Paper and Ink. Welcome back to my face and my card making space and another Halloween video for my 2025 Halloween card series, and yet another video using one of my favorite oldie but goodie die sets, which I will have a link to my Halloween 2025 playlist at the end of this video, and throughout the next few months I will continue to add to it as I post Halloween videos. I will also have a link to my mushroom stems playlist because I have done dozens of videos using that set. I actually used that set in my very first Halloween video for this year, and I pulled it out again because I can't leave it alone. I like playing with it, and is what it is. So I'll have those linked in the end screen in the video. Today we're going grungy. I used a bunch of brown. Who'd have thunk? Playing with oxides and ink mushing, and did a little bit of spray, did the little spooky sky technique, which that portion of the video I did in real time, just to kind of explain it, all the things. As always, everything I used will be listed and linked in the description box below the video. My links are affiliate links. That just means that if you click on one of my links and end up placing an order, I do get a little kickback from that at no extra cost to you. That's what helps pay the bills, keeps the lights on, enables me to keep bringing out content. And yeah, let's get into making the card. So basically for this entire card, almost everything I'm using is oldie but goodie favorites. And I'm using Distress Mixed Media Heavystock, kind of the OG, this sort of cream color one. White Heavystock will work. Watercolor paper will work. You need something that can handle water. The only reason I went with the cream, like original Heavystock, is I was just flipping through my stash and I was like, I've got a lot of this. Let's use it. It's been a while. So that's what I used. And I die cut it first. Do you need to die cut first? Heck no. We'll talk about that in a second. So I'm using the Sassy Witch Hat. I've done other videos. I've used this multiple times. Love this die set. And I die cut the pieces. And I also have the new Distress Oxide minis. Don't need to use these. Could use just normal Distress Oxides. Could also, like the full-size pads, could use sprays. Anything water reactive. Again, options. So many options. But I had them sitting here, and that's what I wanted to use. And we're going to do some ink smooshing. And for the hat, I'm using black soot and walnut stain. And I smushed it onto my nonstick craft sheet, sprayed it with water so it beads up, and then pressing the die cut pieces. Now, again, you don't need to die cut first. I could just do panels, you know? It'd be a little cleaner. I wouldn't get so inky. I could ink smush, create some little backgrounds, and then die cut them. It honestly just depends on your preference and what you want to do. I jump between. Sometimes I'll do little background panels and then die cut them. A lot of times I like die cutting like this first. It is way more messy. I don't mind it. But I don't know. I like seeing where the bits of color are going. But it is way more messy. You could wear gloves if it really bothers you. I'm actually going to show later how I deal with it all. But I end up covered in ink doing this because, you know, all these little pieces, and no matter what, like I get ink all over me. I'll end up out with paint. It's fine. It's fine. We'll get to it. So I just take the little die cut pieces and I was smushing them into the little blobs of ink. And then you want to build in layers. And to layer, you need to dry in between the layers because wet on wet blends, wet on dry layers. So I had my little heat tool. Sometimes I would use my reverse tweezers to hold the pieces because, you know, the heat tool does get hot. I also do have asbestos fingers. So sometimes I'm just holding die cut in my hand. I'm pretty aware of the heat, so it's fine. And then after I was, once I was happy with the layers I'd built up, I took those same colors and I'm using the new, when they released the mini oxides, which wasn't that long ago, there's these new little mini blending brushes also that Tim Holtz released. These are different. The jury's out for me personally because this is the first time I've used them. So they're different than, like, because I'm used to all the other brushes I've shown, you know, that have the softer bristles. These ones have the natural bristles. They kind of remind me of almost like a broom. Does that make sense? There's a larger form of this brush that I have a couple of them and I don't reach for them. I forget that I have them. And then these ones are they're little. And so I was like, he got me with the minis. All right. So I ordered them. Again, jury's out. We'll see. They work. They're just different. And I'm like resistant to different. You know, I was like, these don't feel the same as my regular brushes. So I played with them when I was making this, and I'll play with them more and, you know, see where we go. But anyway, I was just blending lightly over these to kind of fill in some of the gaps, because I didn't want that cream color base to pop, especially on this hat. Like, I wanted that sort of grungy look. And it kind of, in the end, it kind of reminded me of the sorting hat, which I was like, hey, I'm here for it. So yeah, very grungy, really fun. And then to assemble, I'll just show, very simple. Adhered all the pieces together. For the little hat band and the bow, those I die cut from black glitter cardstock. It was Tonic's Black Sapphire, one of my favorites. Just that little pop of glitter. So even though the hat's like, you know, really grungy, there's still some glitter. There's still, you know, some pizzazz. So assembled all my pieces, and with all of this, I kind of did everything like kind of piece by piece, just because I was just mucking around and having fun. But I've talked about this when it comes to like doing like ink smushes or just blending, whatever, like backgroundy type things. There is nothing wrong with just sitting down and doing that. You know, whether it's die cut pieces or actual little panels, play around with your inks and your color and different things. And then later you can die cut them and make something out of it, you know, or turn it into a background or whatever. So I just went like one at a time, because I was playing and adding brown, which I don't do very often. Ain't nothing wrong with brown. I love brown. I just, you know, the real grungy is not where my brain goes, you know, but it's kind of fun to mix brown in with everything. And that's what I did. So then my mushroom stems, again, die cut the pieces from that Distress Heavystock. And for these guys, I was using Villainous Potion and Walnut Stain. That combo is fun. There is something about adding that brown. It gives it that kind of depth. And I'm doing the same thing. Just smush the ink pads onto my nonstick craft sheet, sprayed it with water, press the piece in, dry layer, press in more to build the speckly texture, murky bits. And again, this will work with any water reactive ink. The thing, of course, with oxides is they are unique in just the way they're formulated. Like, look at that. Oh, look at that. The purple and the brown. It just, I love Villainous Potion, though. Like, how can you not? It's so intense. Anyway, those will work with any water. I've done this a bajillion times in videos using all sorts of brands. The thing with oxides is they're very unique in formula, as well as distress inks are very unique in formula. But you can use what you got and play with it and have fun with it, you know? So for the rest of the little mushroom caps, I used the Spice Marmalade, some Crackling Campfire, and Walnut Stain. And same thing. Just mush, dry, mush. Simple, you know? And yeah, just make a grand old mess. Literally, I had ink everywhere, and it was just, I was having fun because I get with all the pieces, no matter what you do, whether you're doing die cut pieces or whether you're doing like little panels, full sheets of cardstock, whatever floats your boat, it doesn't matter. But no matter what, you can be using the exact same colors. No piece will look the same. You know, that's kind of the fun. That is the fun of ink smushing and why I like it so much, because no matter what you do, it will never look the same. Each piece will be completely different. Each panel will be different. Where you decide to die cut it, whatever you decide to do with it, they'll always be different. And yeah, and as Tim Holtz says, you get what you get and you don't throw a fit. So for the undersides of the mushrooms and the stems, I did weathered wood and walnut stain. I like this combo too. This was fun. So for these ones, I was just pressing in the undersides of the mushrooms. The top parts don't matter. Those are going to get covered by the caps. So that's just where I held it, whatevs. And then the stems, pressing them in. This, again, like I said, I got ink everywhere. I had it all over me. I was getting fingerprints on things and smudges. That's also the beauty of intentionally being like mucky and grungy and all the things, is none of that matters. So that's also freeing in its way. Like where there would be parts here and there where I would get a smear or a fingerprint, and normally I'd be like, oh great, now I've got to like find a way to fix that, cover it up. With this, you just embrace it because it's like, you're not going to see it or you're just not going to notice it because things are, grungy and mushy and it's fun. It's fun. So I did the little bit of blending as well on these pieces. So I did the Villainous Potion and then I used just the Spice Marmalade on the orange pieces. And then for the stems and the undersides, I used Antique Linen, which doesn't really show on camera. It's there. It's just subtle because over top of that cream color Heavystock, it's kind of almost the same color as the cream color Heavystock in a sense. So blended all those pieces and then same thing, I assembled all these. I could have set it all aside, gone on to the next bit, but yeah. Again, it just depends on my mood. Usually I kind of do much more compartmental making. Like I'll kind of do everything at once. Like how I showed, it's like I do all of the ink smooshing at once or all of the ink blending at once. And then all of the assembling at once. And then all of the next step at once. But this one was just more me mucking around and playing. And yeah, I had to keep assembling them because I was like, I just want to see how they look when it's all together, all the different mushy colors, speckle, all of it. And it was fun. It was fun. So, assembled all my little grungy mushrooms. Love it. I don't know why I love this set so much. I don't know. Who'd have thunk? I think maybe because it's just being mushrooms. It's a nature element, and you can mix it with flowers and greenery, and then witches' hats. And when I used it before, it was the little jack-o'-lanterns, and birds. Put birds on them. They work for everything. They're fun. So then I used my little Fiddly Leaf die cut. I've used him a million times as well. He is one of my favorites. And this is definitely one where you could do the background and then die cut it, save yourself the aggravation. This gets messy, but again, I don't mind it. And the soap I use, wonderful. We'll get to it in a second. Yeah. And the combo for this was crushed olive and walnut stain. Again, layer, dry, smush it into little bits on the craft sheet, repeat, And then I also used, this was the only newer product I used, was the Beautiful Branch wafer die. And for that one, I used peeled paint and walnut stain. And just inked it up. Love it. Love it. Ink smushing is fun. And again, I've shown it in so many different ways. There's so many different ways you can do it. So many different products you can use to do it. And it's just fun. And yeah, if you've never done it, I highly encourage, just cut down some heavyweight cardstock, whether it's Heavystock, some watercolor paper, just something that can handle layers and water. So that's where watercolor paper or something like the Heavystock comes in. And just cut down a few small panels, not even A2 size. Cut a couple A2 size and cut them in half. And then just try it, get a little inky. Or if it really freaks you out, wear some gloves so you don't get inky, but get your paper inky. And even if you end up hating it, like I've always said, walk away from it, come back to it later, or die cut it, I have yet to come across a panel of stuff that I've inked up in this way that I don't end up, using in some way or liking in some way. Okay, this part I'm going to do in real time. Everything else in my video, I'm going to be editing down all the things. But I have shown this technique multiple times over the years. This is not my idea. I did not create this technique. Full credit for this goes to Stacey Hutchinson, and I will have a link to her original blog post in the description box below the video. And yeah, because full credit goes to her. The spooky skies technique. She was the first one I've ever seen do it. Tim Holtz has done it as well, and he said he learned it from her, and it's fun. It's really fun. It looks different every time you do it, and yeah, I just thought I would do this in real time to make it a little easier, but I've just got a piece of, this is just Distress watercolor cardstock. You need something that can handle water, spray, all the things, so watercolor paper is really good. The Heavystock I was using could also work, but I wanted the white background, so you could use white Heavystock, but I do really like it with the Distress watercolor. And then I can't find my moon mask at the moment. I've got the Tim Holtz, moon mask stencil set. That works perfectly for this, obviously. I don't know where mine went. It's around here, but I wanted to get this done. So I have, and I've shown this, this is just a piece of Yupo that I die cut with a circle die. You just need a circle mask, really. And it's just going to sit here. I'm not going to even like tape it down. Again, I've done this in sort of different ways. And then you just need some sprays. So I'm going to keep it somewhat simpler and just use, I've got Black Soot Oxide spray and Stormy Sky Oxide spray. But again, you could use multiple colors. We could bring in the mica stains and the spritz and all the things and add shimmer. I kind of have a lot going on. And so because these are oxides, you want to make sure that they're shaken up really well. Mine have been sitting. For the record, always liquid products, especially my sprays, but anything liquid, I keep stored upright. You just don't want these to leak. It would be awful. When I'm working with them, that's when I keep them like flat, you know, because then the pigments can kind of settle on the sides and it's easier to mix up. But yeah, all my sprays, keep them upright. You just don't want them to leak. So I've got my paper, my little mask, and then all I'm going to do is spray, there we go, spray this with the Stormy Sky Oxide spray. There we go. That's lots. We're good. And then I'm going to add the black soot. Just like that. And that's good. That's good. This is definitely one too where it is super fun to just experiment with. I'm going to lift off my little mask. It doesn't need to be perfect. This I will wipe. I just wipe it off. Where's my baby wipes? There they are. I just wipe it off and then reuse it. Like I've kept this. That was one thing I could find. I couldn't find the moon masks, but I keep this with my circle dies because I've been using the same piece. It's all stained, but yeah, because it's Yupo, it just works. It just works. But yeah. Okay. So I've got that. And we've got this. And I want to dry it. I want to get it dry first. You don't necessarily have to fully dry. Like, I'm not going to fully dry it, but just kind of set a little bit of it. And that's enough. Again, it's not fully dry. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. And I've also got a piece of paper towel, just in case, and then the spray. And this is where the magic fully happens. So I just take my spray. That's it. That's it. How freaking cool, you know? It just, because again, these are distress products, they immediately react with water. That's it. That's all you do. And you can choose how much or how little you want to add when it comes to like the water. And that's where the paper towel can come in because you can like dab up any excess. I'm kind of liking this. And then if we want, we could also go back in again and just, you know, start spraying more and it'll pull in even more. The world's your oyster. You can do as much or as little as you want. And again, it would look gorgeous. You know, adds shimmer, distress spritz, mica stain, all of it. I've done it in many ways. I'm usually pretty heavy-handed with it. And this is also really nice when you do have the moon mask stencil, because then I'll use that on top and then stencil a little bit, like something like the antique linen works really nicely to get the little moon spots. But like I said, I don't know where that went right now. So I'm going to do without this time, but I will find that stencil set. I know it's sandwiched in between some other Halloween goodies. But that's all that is. How simple. And definitely check out Stacy's blog post. And like I said, I'll have a link to that down below. Back to the regularly edited sped up video. I didn't actually speed up this part, but this is quick. I pulled out another oldie but goodie favorite, the Layered Bats stencil set. I only use one of the stencils. My background is dry. And I'm using some of the black opaque texture paste, which I keep a piece of press and seal over it, and I have it pressed right down. I've had this jar for at least a couple years now. Again, pastes are not meant to live for last forever. They do have a shelf life. The press and seal helps. Tim Holtz also does the rubber band technique. I've had a lot of people asking me about that. I don't like the rubber bands. It just doesn't work for me. I prefer just the press and seal. But again, options. Options are great. So yeah, this one has lasted me, but use your pastes. Don't hoard them. Don't collect them. Use them because they can dry up. They will, even if they're factory sealed. It's just the nature of that type of product. So I applied that paste. I then cleaned off my stencil and my little palette knife, sealed up the paste. We're good to go. And then assembling. So I got my glue. I've got some thin foam squares, and we're just going to build our little scene. And the funny thing is this putting like the witch hat on the mushroom was something I thought about doing. I think it was like last year for my Halloween series. I forget. I had the idea a long time ago. And I can't remember why I didn't do it. I think maybe certain things were sold out and weren't able to be restocked for a while. And then I got distracted as usual because I'm like the dog from Up. It's just constant like squirrel. So anyway, put the witch's hat in the mushroom because I thought that'd be cute. And I've got this like spooky, murky little scene going on, and it's all just die cuts and ink. So fun. And then that little bit of stenciling. And like I mentioned while I was doing like the background and everything, like we could totally amp this up adding more. I thought about it, like more like glittery splatter and shimmer and sparkle and all that. And I just decided not to. We are going to add a bit of splatter just because we can. But yeah, this was just fun to sit and muck around with the Oxide inks because it's been a hot minute since I've just played with my Oxides. And yeah, took my die cuts, did some creative editing, snipping apart the beautiful branch stem to put pieces where I wanted to. So once I got everything adhered to this card front panel, splatter, of course. For this, I'm just going to use Black Soot Distress Paint. It's been a hot minute since I've used the Distress Paint for splatter. I've had a lot of people asking because, I do splatter a lot. It's just been a while. I've been using my gouache, all the things. The only thing Black Soot Distress Paint is great because it's a very liquidy consistency. You don't need to add any water to it. It's just straight out of the bottle. Shake it up good, put it on, splatter away. The thing to remember is this stuff dries permanent. So wash your brush immediately. Wipe off your little palette, all things. Because Black Soot Distress Paint, like acrylic paint, dries permanent. So anyway, there's my hands. With my lighting, they don't look as bad. But I'm an inky mess. So, side note, almost like infomercial in a sense, but seriously, scrubby soap. Game changer. Love this stuff. Tim Holtz raved about this a couple years ago, whenever it was, and I, of course, needed to get my hands on it. Simon Says Stamp started carrying it because it was difficult to find. I had a hard time, so I ordered it from them. I have multiple bars of this stuff. This lavender one smells amazing. But yeah, scrubby soap. Literally, that's all I did. Go to the sink, scrub with that. I removed all that ink under my nails, the paint, all of it. Highly recommend that stuff. There's all kinds of scents to choose from, and I have almost all of them. I have them in multiple I have and then this extra one that I just keep in my office until I use up one of my bars, and that's why I don't worry. I don't care. I don't care if I get ink and paint all over me. That stuff just takes it off. I love it. Anyway, back to the card making. So I used the Just Batty set. I think they're retiring this one, which makes me really sad because it's a cute set. And I'm pretty sure this set was part of a Stamptember kit a couple years ago. The set, as of doing this voiceover, is still available, and the dies are still available. But I just took the little Batty for you sentiment, and I white heat embossed it onto a scrap of black cardstock. And then I die cut it with the coordinating little wafer die. And then I'm just going to pop that onto my card front with a little foam square and a little bit of adhesive. And so that's going to finish off my card front. And then my card base is a top folding A2 white note card. So 4 1/4 by 5.5 inches. And I'm going to put the card base into my Misty. And I'm going to use more sentiments from that Just Batty stamp set. And then I decided to bring in the bat stencil again, Because like I said, I love that stencil. I have used it so many times, and same thing, like my stencil's like stained. I've used it so much. So I pulled that out again, and I'm just gonna blend a bit of the black soot Oxide ink onto the inside of the card. So I've got those little bats using that little blending brush. So added that to the inside, and again, I ended up like kind of, you can barely see it, but I kind of went over the bottom edge or the top edge of one of the bats that I didn't stencil. But when it comes to the insides of the cards, one, I'm not too concerned because the insides are just in my world, kind of, I consider it as a bonus, you know, because it's just what I do. But also Halloween, and I'm going to stamp over it, so I'm not concerned. So blended that little bit, blended the little bit of bats, and then I'm going to stamp the sentiment. And I've also talked about using like oxides on the insides of cards. This amount, like stamping a sentiment, is irrelevant. Adding that little bit of stenciling, not a big deal. If it was a full stencil background that I'll do on the inside, which I'll do in some cards, I try to avoid using oxides for that because oxides have pigments. It sits on top of the cardstock, and I find that if I do that on the inside of a card, when I go to write, even with a gel pen, it like catches on that pigment. Not the end of the world, but it just gets annoying sometimes. But little bits like this is fine because I'll just write around it. You know, I'm not concerned. So I adhered those extra 2 mushrooms that I'd made on the inside, glued the card front to the card base, and that was it. I decided not to add any, like I said, no bling. Didn't add any other splatter. I know, shocking, but we got a lot of texture going on. You know, it's a little grungy. It's a little grungy for me, and I had fun. So that was the card. I will have links to everything I used in the description box below. I'll link to those playlists that I mentioned in the intro at the very end if you want to check them out. Thank you all, as always, so very much for hanging out with me, for thumbs upping and commenting, letting them robot overlords know you like what you see. Subscribe if you haven't. I would love to have you. And I will see you all very soon in the next one. Bye. Thank you so much to my amazing Patreon supporters. For anyone that might be interested in joining my Patreon community and supporting me, the link to my Patreon is in the description box below the video. For everyone else, as always, thank you all so much for taking the time to watch my videos, for thumbs upping, commenting, subscribe if you haven't. I'd love to have you. And here's a couple other videos for you to check out in case you missed them. Bye.